We are covering AWS Identity and Access Management, or IAM, a critical topic for the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner exam. IAM is how you securely control access to your AWS resources. At its core are users, groups, roles, and policies. Think of users as individual people, like a developer named Jane. A group is a collection of users. For example, you could put Jane in a developer's group. Permissions are then applied to the group using a policy, which is a JSON document that explicitly lists what actions are allowed or denied. This is much more efficient than assigning permissions to each user individually. The exam will absolutely test you on the difference between the root account and an IAM user. The root user is the email address used to create the account and has unlimited access. Best practice, and a frequent exam topic, is to never use the root user for daily tasks. Your very first step in a new AWS account should be to create an administrative IAM user for yourself. Enable multi-factor authentication, or MFA, on the root account, and then securely store the root credentials. The exam favors answers that reflect this secure approach. This leads directly to the principle of least privilege, a concept you must master. It means granting only the minimum permissions necessary for a user or service to perform its task. An exam question might describe a user who needs to view objects in a specific S3 bucket. The correct policy would grant read-only access to that single bucket, not to all S3 buckets. Over-provisioning permissions is a common exam trap. A major point of confusion the exam exploits is when to use a role versus a user. IAM users are for people and have permanent credentials like a password and access keys. IAM roles are meant to be assumed, providing temporary security credentials, and are ideal for services. For instance, a classic exam scenario will ask how an EC2 instance can securely access an S3 bucket. The correct answer is never to store access keys on the instance itself. Instead, you assign an IAM role to the EC2 instance, and that role has a policy attached, granting it the necessary S3 permissions. The instance then automatically receives temporary credentials to make its API calls securely. To help remember this, use this mental shortcut. People are users, services assume roles. If the entity is a person needing long-term console access, think user. If it's an AWS service, an application, or a user needing temporary, delegated access, the answer is a role. Understanding this distinction is key to correctly answering several scenario-based questions on your exam. For free practice questions, AI-powered explanations, and more exam prep tools, visit openexamprep.com. That's openexamprep, all one word, .com.